What it do, flight crew? FTC. Flight team stand up! It's true! Hey, man, we got Jimmy High Roller. Long time no see. How Loki was getting worried about the man High Roller, bro. It's been about like a few months since he last uploaded. But glad to see him back. We just witnessed one of the greatest seasons of all time. Now, from the thumbnail, I'm going to make an educated guess. He's talking about the OKC Thunder. And is that necessarily true? Because now thinking about it, how many wins did they have this past season? Was it like 60 plus? Was it 50 something plus? Damn, now thinking about it, bro, within the next like 5 to 10 years, people are really going to be talking about the 95 Bulls and the 2025 OKC Thunder. And then also the Warriors too. You know what I'm saying? Which teams out of those three are better? 2016 Warriors, of course.
I'd be lying if I said we didn't see this coming. A 68-win record-setting team who's been the overwhelming favorite to
win.
Bro,
they had 68 wins for real? I know they had 60 plus or around the high 50s, but they had 68 wins.
The title this season for practically the entire season, winning the title. This is not an underdog story or one riddled with ups and downs capped off with an improbable rise to glory. But it should have been one of the youngest teams in the league with relatively little experience aiming for a prize their franchise has only come within reaching distance of once before. Instead, this was a 100-game slaughter, a season of blowouts, absurd margins, awards, and shattered records. A season so dominant that skepticism turned into optimism, which quickly became expectation. And yet the 2025 OKC Thunder didn't just meet those expectations, they obliterated all of them. Because the Thunder aren't just champions, they have now completed one of the greatest seasons of all time.
Wow. How do y'all feel about that one right there? There's gonna be a lot of OKC bandwagons, bro. An ad coming up.
Today's video is sponsored off.
I know him too well.
Teams have been
Skip.
Throughout the history of the NBA, 79 different teams have been crowned champions. 79 teams that beat the odds and achieved basketball immortality. But even among champions, there's an even more exclusive club. Teams that didn't just win a title, but set entirely new standards on what is achievable in a single season. Of these 79 title-winning teams, only 8 of them achieved these 3 key metrics. A net rating of at least teams, only 8 of them achieved.
Now, shout out to High Roller for putting
these
the all-time championship winners. Oh no, this is going by seasons. Or no, it was a 96 Bulls, right? That was I was saying 95 Bulls. Wait, nah, this is confusing me. Oh yeah, no, that's right here because the 25. Yeah, all right, that's right. Bro, you need to bring back these old school logos. The Celtics are the only NBA team in history to have the same logo. Like, they stuck with it. Like, that's actually crazy. It's actually a 40-year vintage logo plus. The MPLS Lakers, Minneapolis. Bro, a lot of you Lakers bandwagons don't even know they started out there first. Bro, Rochester Royals, that has so much aura in that logo. They need to bring it back. Even whatever this logo is right here. Bro, the Washington Bullets, they need to make a comeback with this logo, bro. Nah, this 1948 Bullets logo, that's damn near one. Like, that logo was better than half the entire NBA league logos of right now. Okay.
3 key metrics.
I like looking at history and stuff like that.
Of at least 10, an average margin of victory of at least 10, and at least 65 wins throughout the regular season. Those teams are the 71 Bucks, the 72 Lakers, the 92, 96.
Even the Bucks old school logo, that looks way better, bro. Wait, what makes them change it, bro? Do they lose like the rights to whoever, like, let's say created and designed and drew the logo? I've always thought that if you think about it on a deeper level, maybe they sign like a contract, whoever like illustrated, maybe let's say they sign a contract for like 15 or 20 years and they give them a certain amount. And if they don't like let them re-sign with like whatever they want to like ask for and offer wise, they probably just be like, hey, you can't use my logo. I probably just solved it right there. Yo, smartest man on earth, bro. Stop playing with me.
And 97 Bulls, the 08 Celtics, the 2015 Warriors, and the 2017 Warriors. These 8 teams are basketball royalty. So dominant that winning a championship was more of a victory lap than it was a testament to just how great they were. And without exception, all of these teams are regarded as the greatest teams or single seasons in NBA history. And now, a 9th team has been added to this exclusive club, the 2025 OKC Thunder. But to say they have simply entered this club would actually be an understatement, because throughout the 2025 season, the Thunder finished with the 6th best record of all time, the 2nd highest net rating of all time, and the largest
6th best record. Hey, nobody topping the 2016 Warriors though. Ha ha! You Thunder fans don't have something that we have as Warriors. You don't have 73 wins. Do better. So, all right, so keep it humble. Y'all was trying to say certain things when y'all won a championship this year. You trying to say this and that. No. Hey, we got 70-plus wins. There's levels to this shit. Remember that. Nice. And the thing is, the Warriors are always going to be at that, like, #1 spot right there. That's like a once-in-a-lifetime generational, like, 95 Bulls is right under one more crazy thing, I know the 95, 96 Bulls squad, they're probably like punching the air low-key at certain things. I know for a fact they took like about like 3 or 5 games off, probably like partying. Because you know it's probably a different whole setting and stuff like that when it was like the 90s and the 80s. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't like, born or around that time. So don't even be trying me like, oh, you was there. You know what I'm saying? You would know. But no, just aside, like, they didn't have like the internet, social media like that. You know what I'm saying? So them niggas was really outside. You know what I'm saying? So imagine if they probably like didn't decide to just go out and party or hang out too late the night before. I ain't gonna lie, on some humble-ish, I actually think the 95, 96 Bulls could have easily got 80 wins. And the reason why it was because of that right there. They probably was like such at like a high level of playing and seeing like how the rest of the league was. Like, hey, none of these niggas is about to catch us like for a minute if they even tried. So, but nah, Warriors got it though. You know what I'm saying? Warriors got it. Thunder fans, you don't have what the Warriors got. Remember that. You don't have 70-plus win season. All right? So remember to keep it humble.
Margin of victory
Keep it humble.
In the history of the league. By all measurable accounts, the 2025 Thunder have asserted themselves among some of the greatest seasons in the history of the league. In fact, they weren't just among some of
66, 67. Was that the 76ers in the 5th spot right there to have the Wilt Chamberlain? Because remember, he played on the Sixers too
of the
at one point of his
seasons
career.
In the history of the league. In fact, they weren't just beating everyone. The Thunder spent the last 9 months completely eviscerating teams. In the
Yo,
NBA,
he just took
a
your Rage's
20-point
word.
victory is cited as
Yo,
a
your
blowout.
Rage
On
mentioned
29 different occasions, nearly a
Aura.
third of all of their games this season, the Thunder were up on their opponents by 20 points or more by the end of the 3rd quarter, which means 1 in every 3 games was already deemed a blowout before the 4th quarter even started. As the season progressed, the rapidly approaching realization that this team may just be having one of the greatest seasons of all time became clearer with each monumental beatdown. The MVP and scoring champion, a 23-year-old All-NBA guard by his side. Not 1, but 2 all-defensive juggernauts. A rotation so deep, you'd swear they just subbed in another starting unit. It didn't take an analyst to know we were watching something special. In fact, by the time the playoffs rolled around, a very uncomfortable conversation quickly followed.
They are 4 wins away, Demonze, from one of the single greatest seasons in NBA history.
Like, they've won 79 games between the regular season and the playoffs. They could be as extravagant and arrogant as they wish. They just aren't.
Are we seeing the potential of an all-time?
Man, come on, man. They're just trying to make a positive narrative, man. Like, they definitely do be acting a little bit cocky. What are we talking
Great
about?
team here.
The NBA should be worried.
Is this team truly one of the greatest teams ever? Or at the very least, are they
I'm going to call it next season, the Thunder are winning about 40, 50 games. They're going to get burnt out. Like, it happens. It's nothing like insanely impossible, but bro, it happens. They're not
one of
winning.
the greatest
Bro, come on.
seasons ever? A dialogue that was routinely and justifiably shot down every time it came up. To even enter that discussion, they first had to win a championship, something that we've seen countless good teams fall short of. But not this one. Checking the final box on a season that is now certainly in that rare and exceptional group. But of all the things this Thunder team has in common with the greats that came before it, how they managed to pull it off is what sets them apart. Among the requirements of nearly every championship team are talent, depth, defense, execution, and experience. After all, the one glaring hole in OKC's armor going into the playoffs was their lack of it. The regular season and the postseason have become so disconnected in recent years that winning 68 games in historic fashion isn't nearly convincing enough if you haven't proven yourself in the playoffs. And as we all know, the road to a championship usually takes years, with countless casualties along the way. Players coming and going, heartbreak, entire roster identities changing in search for a winning formula. But this team didn't just win it all. They won it way faster than they should have. Over the last 30 seasons, the average age across the NBA is about 26.8 years old. Throughout that same time span, the average age of championship-winning rosters is about 2 years older, at 28.8 years old. Championship rosters are usually comprised of players with more experience, they're more battle-tested, and in many cases have spent years falling short of a championship.
Average roster age. You would think the Thunder, which you know what I'm saying, don't get it twisted, 28, you know what I'm saying, to 35 is obviously young still. But I thought they was like an average of like 21 to 22-ish. Look, the 25 Thunder, yeah, they're like the average of 28 to 29. Which is impressive. What was the youngest team? The 04 Pistons? Average age of 27? Oh, no. It was the 15 Warriors. Average age is like 26-ish. Is there anything? The Nuggets. Wait, the 23 Nuggets was young like that? About the same as the Warriors, like 26. So the top youngest teams to last win the championships over the last few, or over this last basically 20 years, was the 04 Pistons. This Spurs team was pretty young too in 03. 15 Warriors. The Raptors. Raptors is like such a shocker too. Because that's like their first championship they ever won, huh?
Championship before they finally achieved their ultimate goal. The 2025 Thunder being the exception, with an average roster age of just 24.8 years old. By far, the youngest team to win a title in nearly 50 years.
Really?
In fact, most championship teams
Oh, he didn't even finish filling it out. So now the Thunder are the youngest, damn near, at an average age of 24.
Of a single player, let alone an entire roster this young getting minutes in the playoffs. So not only have the Thunder just put together one of the most complete and dominant seasons the league has ever seen, they did it about 4 years ahead of schedule. So what is next for a team that essentially checked off every single box in a season? The burden of proving they can do it again. Over the last few days, the word dynasty has been thrown around, what it means to be a dynasty and what it takes to build one. But if the current era of the NBA has taught us anything, it's that dynasties might just be a thing of the past. Every generation has seen at least one of these teams, whether it was the Celtics and the Lakers in the 80s, the Bulls of the 90s, the Lakers and Spurs in the 2000s, and the Warriors in the 2010s. And they have played a pivotal role throughout NBA history. At least they did, up until recently. Since 2019, the NBA has seen a different champion every year. 7 different teams across 7 seasons.
Which, in my honest, humble opinion, I love that. But, obviously, the Warriors deserve to win it damn near every season. But if it's not the Warriors, it's definitely exciting to see, different teams switch up. But yeah, Warriors getting back to the groove of things.
Longest span of unique title winners
Three-peat
in NBA
incoming.
history. As if
we're going to get a 3-peat and Curry's going to retire with 3 more rings, bro. Let's go.
Championship wasn't difficult enough. Winning another one is magnitudes more difficult. And in recent times, it has become nearly impossible. With every team that shows signs of building something that will truly last, comes the stark reminder that it probably won't. Players seeking greener pastures, a championship run often bringing out the egos in everyone involved. They lose sight of the team. Sometimes it can simply be a logistical nightmare to keep a winning team together. Injuries can throw off timelines, young players get too expensive, old players get even older, the mileage adds up, and the window closes a whole lot faster than you would ever expect. Which means one of 2 things is true. Either we are truly in the era of parity and analytics, the speed of information, modern-day roster constructions, and the depth of talent has made it virtually impossible to build a lead on the competition, or there will be a dynasty of the 20s. We just haven't seen it yet, but we may be looking at one in the making. In a league where talent is a rotating door and assets are thrown around like cheap commodities, the Thunder have taken an unconventional route to a title, actually developing players and building from within. Roster continuity is an ever-increasing point of emphasis in the NBA today. Recent history has shown that the once viable method of building top-heavy super teams centered around a couple of superstar talents with little to no supporting cast was a failing model. The smartest organizations around the league shifted their focus away from acquiring top-end talent at any cost to the more traditional and sustainable model of developing players from within and acquiring pieces based on fit rather than sheer talent. And no team has mastered the art of drafting, developing, and fit better than the Thunder have. Since 2019, the average roster continuity among championship teams, essentially how much a team stayed the same from one season to the next, was about 61%. That means, on average, 61% of these championship teams' minutes were filled by players from the previous season's roster. The 2025 Thunder had a roster continuity of 79%, meaning the vast majority of their minutes were played by guys who they purposefully built around rather than outsourcing. In this new era of deep, consistent rosters where chemistry and fit matter just as much as talent, the OKC Thunder have built the youngest, most continuous roster in the entire league, while being the best team in the league. But the anomalous nature of this team doesn't end there, because the Thunder's front office has built this team for the future. I think they would be the first to admit that this immense success, although part of the plan, was not expected to come this early, and evidence of this can be found here. Among the championship teams in this era of parity, the 2020 Lakers have had the lowest payroll, winning a title with just the 11th most expensive team in the league. These other rosters sitting well amongst the most expensive teams in the NBA at the time. This year's Thunder roster had the 25th highest payroll in the NBA. This team has their future growth already baked into the numbers. Where many teams of the past had to break up their core or watch key players walk away due to money, the Thunder are one of the cheapest rosters in the league, giving themselves room to offer the highest bid to anyone who may want to leave or inevitably be up for an extension. They say money can't buy championships, but it sure does help. Fortunately, the Thunder just won one of the cheapest rings in NBA history. But possibly the largest positive indicator for the future of this team and a reflection
Let's be honest though, how long is that gonna last? For sure, after this season that they had, there's gonna be a few of them Thunders players that are bench players that think that they're main starters that are for sure gonna be trying to ask for like that 100 M's 3-year type of deal and stuff like that. Like, shit. Let's see how long it lasts.
How abnormal their accomplishments are is the fact that they are the sole owner of the largest draft stockpile in the entire league, with 24 picks over the next 5 seasons. Now, this has been a big development over the last couple of seasons, just how good the Thunder are while sitting on 1 million picks. But the Thunder actually winning a championship changes everything and makes these assets look even more unbelievable. You want to see the cost of trying to win now? The teams that are highlighted represent the 8 teams that made it past the first round of the playoffs this season. Nearly all of them near the bottom of the league in terms of draft capital. Even more shocking, when we highlight the last 5 championship teams, they are the bottom 5 in the league in terms of future draft picks. Winning comes at a hefty price, a price that the Thunder managed to completely evade. Outside of OKC, the only team that made it out of the first round while maintaining more than their fair share of draft picks were the Pacers. Every other team that is within vicinity of OKC is nowhere near even competing for a championship right now. In fact, the only reason why a team should even have as much draft capital as the Thunder do is if they have essentially forfeited the next season or two in an attempt to rebuild. Meanwhile, the Thunder just completed one of the best seasons of all time while simultaneously building a gluttony of assets for the future. This is unheard of. Usually, in fact, almost always, you do not get to be good now and be good later. You have to go all in on one or the other. Except, of course, if you're Sam Presti and the Thunder, and you are attempting to do what no team can seem to pull off. Be the next great NBA dynasty. But as it stands, the 2025 Thunder
Dynasty?
have already defied
Bro,
the
we're
odds.
calling the Thunder a dynasty after one ring?
A young, small market team that was built from homegrown talent, not only stamping their name in every record book, but cementing their legacy as NBA champions, and doing it smarter, faster, and about as unlikely as any team ever has.
All right. What do y'all have to say about this? I mean, interesting stat line, interesting thing to look at history and stuff throughout the league. But will the Thunder do it again?